Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wyfe Up podcast. I'm so grateful that you guys are here hanging out with me. And for those of you that this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Deetra and I'm your host. And today's topic is, what about your daughter? Oh man, I can't wait to talk about this. So let's go. Um, I would always like to start with a quick little prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to be with the Wyfe Up Fam again. I just want to glorify your name, God. I just want to glorify you and glorify marriages, Lord. I just want to lift up marriages and lift up covenant and lift up husbands and wives, Lord. I just have such a strong calling for this, and I thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to pour into marriages. I love you and praise you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay, guys, so you heard the topic. What about your daughter? Also, I want to just tell you guys really quickly, those of you that are listening to the podcast, I also have a YouTube channel of the same name, Wyfe Up. If you're a visual person just like myself and you like to watch people as they speak, please head on over and have a look. And if you like, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. So what about your daughter? Oh, the precious little girl, right? If you're like me, I have 3 daughters. And if you're like me, when I first found out that I was having a girl, I was so excited. Oh, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a girl. I'm having a little girl just like me. And I'm gonna be able to dress her up and show her things and take her shopping and really just have a good time with her, and we're gonna be best friends. And you think you have all these thoughts of the way it's gonna be when you have your little mini me. Now I realize that there are some women that they're just like, no, I don't want a girl. I want all boys. Thank you very much. And typically I think that's because they know the heck that they gave their mom. Like, they know the trouble that they gave their mom, and they're like, I wouldn't even be able to handle a girl if she was anything like me. Well, I didn't think that way. I really wanted girls. I have 3 boys and 3 girls, but I was looking forward to it. So my first child is a girl, a daughter. And like I said, I remember just being so excited to hang out with my little girl. And I have an episode that I called Husbands Are Not Your Ken Doll. And I could easily make an episode that says your daughters are not your baby dolls, because I feel like a lot of wives, a lot of women, when we have little girls, we treat them like our real life baby doll, right? We have baby dolls growing up, and we dressed them up and we fed them and we cleaned their diapers and we did all these things. We basically were playing house and practicing for the real deal one day, but we love doing it. So having a real life daughter, if you already haven't figured that out, is not like having a baby doll, because they're people. They have their own thoughts, and they grow up and they have their own dreams and visions and so on and so forth. And, we have to learn to adjust to that and find ways to build them up. But the point that I wanted to make was that whenever I've heard, and this is across the board, including myself, a woman say that she's having a girl, like she gets sonogram, oh, I'm having a girl, or after she had the baby, she had a girl, she found out, she was so excited. All the things that I hear women say, that they want to hang out with their child, they want to dress her up, they want to, just have fun and have tea parties and all the type of stuff. I've never once, and I mean this, I've never once heard a woman say that she is excited about showing her daughter how to be a wife. Not one time. I didn't say it, and I've never heard one woman say that. And that is something that I was thinking about today. And I was like, why is that? Why wouldn't that be, high on the list of things to do? We can show our daughters how to be moms, because a lot of times our daughters are having kids out of wedlock. I was a woman that had children out of wedlock. I'm not proud of that, but that's the way it is. And so I feel like, especially in the inner cities, that's the norm. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, I could teach her how to be a mom once she has a baby, but a lot of women are not equipped on how to teach their daughters on how to be wives. And it's kind of a sad thing, really, because there's a lot of moms that were never wives, and there are a lot of moms that either were wives and for whatever reason it did not work out. So they don't really have the best advice to give, or they weren't married in the first place. And so some of the things that I know that women say about their children is that they want to give their children the world. Like their children mean everything to them, right? I've heard women say that a lot. Oh, my children are my world. And, and that's dangerous because God should be your world. I know you love your children, but God still comes first, right? But nonetheless, right? People say, I will do anything for my children. There's nothing in the world I won't do for them. I've heard so many mothers say that their children are their everything, not me. I already said that. But please don't get me wrong. I am that mama bear. Like I love my children and will do, okay, I will. Okay, I think you can tell just by the tone of my voice what I would do for my children, right? Like most moms, we kill for our own children if need be. We're mama bears, we protect our children. But my kids don't come before Jesus, all right? I can't pray to my kids. I cannot find rest in my kids. My kids don't offer me salvation. You guys get the point. No one loves my kids more than me except for Jesus, all right? I'm not even going to get into how I feel some moms idolize their children. That's a whole nother conversation that may not even happen on this podcast, but it may. We'll just see. It could be a future episode. But if you have daughters and you claim that they're your everything, then why are you setting them up for failure? What are you teaching them? What about your daughter or your daughters? So what I mean by that is that are you showing your daughters in respect to marriage how to behave as wives? And like I said, there are moms out there that either was never a wife, so she doesn't know how to be a wife, or she didn't have that modeled for her, or they're divorced already. So true story. And a lot of this context is going to be about me, right? So I'm going to be talking about things that I've done wrong with my daughters, what I've shown them as far as how to be a wife. And I know that women can relate to it, but I just want to put myself out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not ever here to judge anyone per se, as much as I am judging myself and the things that I've done in the past. And so when I'm speaking from experience 95% of the time, like seriously. So that's why I'm going to talk about the things that I've done. So true story, I've come from a line of divorced women. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, and me. Myself, my mother, and my grandmother all remarried someone else. I watched how my mother behaved in her first marriage to my dad, and I followed in her footsteps. Her behavior showed me what was okay and what was acceptable. In my first marriage, I was not the Proverbs 31 type of wife. I didn't have a true relationship with God. I prayed to God mostly for protection over my family, and I taught my children to pray. But I didn't have a true relationship with Christ. Therefore, of course, my daughters did not have a real relationship with Christ either. This was one of the mistakes I made, but there are other things I showed my daughters. I showed them how to be, number one, how to be disrespectful towards their future husbands. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Everything that I'm saying is tough pills to swallow, but it's the truth, right? Based off of the things that I've done in my past marriage and even some of the things I've done in this marriage, I've shown my kids, be clear, your children are watching you, right? And they don't do what you say, they do what you do. A lot of people don't realize that, but they're watching every single move that you make. They're watching all your nuances, your attitude, how you handle things. They're watching all of this, and they're learning from you. And I've learned this, and I have to pause for a second and say this. I watch my oldest daughter and the way she does things now, the way she handles some things, her attitude towards certain things. And I look and I'm like, wow, this is how you used to be. She learned that behavior from you. And not just her, all of my kids. But when I look at my daughters, I look at each one of them have different things that I see them do that was something that I did. And I'm like, wow, okay, that was me. That's where she got that from, you know? And that's hard. That's hard to see. All right. How to be disrespectful towards their future husbands. I have cursed at my husbands to their face. I have cursed about them behind their backs. I'm pretty sure I've cursed them out in an argument in front of my daughters. Um, I've raised my voice towards my husband. I've called my husband names in front of my daughters in arguments. I've been that woman that I saw red. Like once we started arguing, there was no respect. It was like, oh, it's every man for themselves and or every woman for themselves. And I'm just going to say whatever it is. And I also am a New Yorker. So please believe you're not going to get the last word. Like when I think about the type of woman that I was, it makes me want to cry. It makes me cringe that I behaved like that. You know what I'm saying? Like don't get me wrong, we get in our flesh, and there are times where, you get in an argument and you're going to say some things that you don't mean, or you might mean during the argument, but later you look back like, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. And I look back and I can't believe that that's the way that I spoke as a wife to my husband. And I'm ashamed of that. But that's what I show my daughters. So what do you think is going to happen when they get married and they're following in my footsteps? This is why I do what I do right now, because I see the error of my ways. I've seen all the mistakes that I've made. And I don't want my daughters to repeat the same things that I did and repeat the same mistakes that I did. I don't want them going into a marriage talking to their husband all crazy, because I don't talk to my husband like that now. But it took years to get where I am right now. It took years to just go, okay, those of you that are not watching the YouTube video, I just kind of button my lip, right? I use that gesture to button my lip. It took years. And I know in this world, the world will say, no, you should be able to speak whatever you want to say. You don't shut up because of no man. You don't do that. That's the world. Listen, I'm not trying to belittle my husband. I don't want him to feel bad. Nobody wins in an argument when we're both at each other's throats. But if I'm calling him names and stuff, that's not honoring of my husband. Oh no, she does not do that anymore. She is and I. All right, so another thing I showed my daughters was how not to let their future husbands lead. Why? Because I didn't let my husbands lead. Not always, but a lot of the time. My husband has said no to some things and I didn't agree with his decision. I went behind his back and said yes. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all have done that. Some of y'all like, ooh, I just did that the other day. Right? Teaching my daughters that my husband doesn't have the authority in his own home and that I do. Woo. Oh. I taught my daughters that my husband doesn't have the authority. I do. It's my house. Not what he says goes, what I say goes. I've done that. I've ridiculed my husband's decisions. I've rolled my eyes at things he said in front of my daughters. I've rolled my eyes like, whatever. I've done that. Oh my God, I've done that. I've said things like, I don't care what daddy says. This is what we're doing. That hit home for somebody right now. Somebody's thinking, oh, wow, is she talking directly to me? Yep. Yes, I am. I'm talking to myself first, and then I'm talking to you. Somebody's relating with this. There's a lot of women that are relating with what I'm saying right now, because the world is telling us that we don't have to listen to him, right? Feminism, woman power, girl power, whatever. We run the world, whatever, right? Who runs the world? Well, who runs the marriage? And maybe that's not the right words that I should say, but my husband is the head of this household. That's it. That's it. So don't get me wrong, there might be some things I might disagree with that he says, and I can say that to him. I can say, babe, I don't agree, but not in front of my daughters. I'm not going to be having a full-on argument with him in front of my daughters because I disagree. I might be like, hey, let's talk about this. Can we talk about this for a second? There's ways to handle it. I'm not saying that everything he says is going to be correct, but what I am saying is I can gently say to him how I feel. Excuse me. I have set myself up as the authority over the home. I've also taught my daughters how to not keep an organized home. Admittedly, I have not been the most organized person in the world. I have been living in a organized, chaotic state for a long time. I made sure my husband had clean clothes, but he sometimes had to go looking for them from a pile of clean clothes. He always has dinner, but there's no menu or plan. It's just whatever I can whip together, right? I used to be horrible at not throwing things away. Keeping the most ridiculous things for no reason. There were times the house felt disorganized and messy, just trying to keep my head above water. Needless to say, there were times my house didn't feel like home to me. I could just imagine how it felt for my husband. You know, I know that having 5 kids, especially, you know, my first marriage, having 5 kids under the age of 8, like I did 5 kids in 8 years. And of course, there's babies everywhere. There's Pampers everywhere, diapers or nappies. So, you know, I was living in England. And I literally felt like I was just like keeping my head above water a lot of the times. And maybe even gone through a depression at some point in time. But there's grace for that. You know what I mean? But there comes a time where the kids are getting bigger and you teach them to help out around the house. There's things that I should have done better. Instead, I was like, I'll do it. If you want something done right, you do it right yourself. And that wasn't the right way. Like there's ways that I should have done things better and I wish I had. But with the new set of children that are coming along, that definitely is the plan. Let's see. I showed my daughters how to not have a Christ-filled marriage. If the world is in the center of your marriage, then you'll have a worldly marriage. Peep that. You can write that down. Put that somewhere. Or as someone I know like to say, put that in your pipe and smoke it, right? If the world is in the center of your marriage, then you will have a worldly marriage. If Christ is in the center of your marriage, then you will have a kingdom marriage. That's just A plus B equals C. Like, seriously, that is the simplest advice that I can give to anybody. You want a kingdom marriage, Christ has to be in the center of it. Period. I did not put Christ in the center of my marriage first time around. I did what a lot of moms do. I took my daughters to church occasionally. I, as a mother, would go to church, then leave church and slander someone on the way home. Or curse someone out in the car because I had road rage. I'm in New York, remember that we have road rage. And I would come out of church. I know that I would come out of church and we'd be driving and I'd be like F-bombs, this, that, and the other. And just like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously, I remember those days. Not say I don't have road rage still, but I can curtail it a lot. Like, I am just very careful about what comes out of my mouth, right? I'll just say that. So Monday through Saturday were not days spent worshiping the Lord. They were days spent bopping my head to popular secular artists and their music, standing in agreement with them, because that's what you do when you do like this, in case you did not know. I showed my daughters to get through life with Jesus Christ, except for 2 hours on a Sunday. That's the truth. And when we said prayers at night. My daughters knew I was a Christian woman, but my actions were not that of a true woman of Christ. They just weren't. So while I was raising my hand over here to go to church, we going to church Monday through Sunday or Monday through Saturday, or even Sunday night through Saturday. My actions said something different. That mediocre Christian, I call it. You know, I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I go to church occasionally, but I didn't have a relationship with God. Because if I had a relationship with God, and He would have been guiding my steps, the things that I said, how I acted, things like that, I was just flying by the seat of my pants, pretty much, if I'm being completely honest. What else did I show my kids? I showed my daughters how to not respect our finances. How to not be respectful of finances. I just bought what I thought we needed, okay? No budgeting at all, really. I wasn't a shopaholic, but there were times I bought unnecessary things, like buying my 8-year-old daughter at the time 6 pairs of shoes because they were cute, that she was going to outgrow in a few months anyway. She didn't need all those shoes. I remember my ex-husband, being a Jamaican, was like, why you buy all those shoes? And I'm like, because they're cute and she's going to wear them with her different outfits. Like, duh, you know? And of course he looked at me like, that's a waste of money. I only had one pair of shoes growing up. I'm like, okay. Well, I didn't. And I might have had maybe 2 or 3, but it was excessive. All right. It's basically what I'm saying. And so, needless to say, I wasn't the best saver. If my mindset was doing things like that, and mind you, we had 5 kids, you know, and a lot of things I did, he thought was unnecessary. And a lot of things I did, I thought necessary, but there were some silly things, like I said, about the shoes. So, but I wasn't the best saver either. So how can you build something with a wife that doesn't build, she spends? I wasn't the best saver. I wasn't the best steward of the money that we had. I wasn't. I'm going to be completely 1000% honest and say that. And some of you wives know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. I also taught my daughters how to disrespect my husband by flirting with other men. Okay, let's park that. And husband, I know you're going to listen to one of these episodes. I'm not talking about you, and I'm not talking about now, and I'm not talking about this marriage. I want you to be clear, okay? But I remember before in my other marriage, just being unhappy and you know, not getting that type of love and attention from my ex-husband. And so when men flirted with me, I giggled and grinned and flirted back. If not all the time, but I know I'm guilty of it. I've done it. You might think it's innocent, or maybe you don't. But the truth of the matter is, it's wrong. And some women want to feel like they still got it, you know? Just like there are men right now that are walking around like, okay, I still got it. And women, we do the same thing too. Oh, that guy flirted with me. Okay, I still got it. No, there's none of that. Like, you have to understand also that the enemy will put plant seeds of plant things like that in your path if he knows you're weak like that. And it's very disrespectful to a husband at home when you are flirting with any man. Whether obviously you won't do it in his face, but some women do. Some women are ruthless. They will flirt with men right in front of their husbands. But nonetheless, whether he's with you or not with you, if there's another man commanding your attention and you have a husband at home, if you have a husband, period, you wrong. I know I have an episode coming up about that. Women who are flirting with men and they are married. Like, it's not cool. If your husband doesn't pay attention to you, or you might seek out attention from other men, or even if you aren't actively seeking attention but you don't rebuke it either when a man flirts with you, he-he-ing and ha-ha-ing in front of your daughters. I'm pretty sure I've done that. We've been to the mall somewhere. I've been out with my daughters, and you know, some guy might be like, hey, you know, what's your name? Or are you married? Or whatever the case may be. And might be like, whatever, you know, yeah, I'm married. And then the next question is, are you happily married? Like, that should make a damn difference. But there are men out there like, are you happy? You know, and I don't even remember the things that I said in the past. Maybe knowing me, I might have been like, yeah, you know, like just to get this guy away from me. But because the flirting is one thing, but then taking it to a whole nother thing is a whole nother kettle of fish. But oops. Sorry guys, sorry, I moved the microphone. But flirting is wrong on all aspects. There shouldn't be any man out there on this planet that could even think for a half a second that he could get you in bed. There's no man that should ever think, even if you and your husband are on the outs right now, there shouldn't be a man on this planet that thinks that I could get her if I wanted her. And I can tell you right now, in my current marriage to my husband that I love so much, there's not one man on this planet that could think. He's delusional if he thinks that. If he's like, oh yeah, you know, he might, you know, think, oh, she's nice looking. I could probably. That was vain. I don't mean it to sound like that. Okay, if he's thinking, oh, she's nice looking, I could probably get her number or get her, you get what I'm saying? If he's thinking that, like I said, that's something made up in his head. It's not coming from any vibe that I gave him. Now, I'm a very friendly, smiley person to everyone, right? But I will, in a minute, be like, I'm holding up my hand. Be like, yes. Oh, you married? Yes, absolutely. And happily. My husband's over. Where is he? Somewhere over there? Honey, hi. You know, I don't want any man to ever think that he could step up in my husband's face or look at my husband sideways. Like, you know, she was talking to me a minute ago. I bet if I get her, I bet if I wanted to, I could get her. There's no man could ever get my attention away from my husband. Never. I love my husband so much, and I love my God even more. Like, I've made mistakes in the past. I really have, and I've repented for them. But now, given a second chance, there's not never. No, not never could anybody ever tempt me away from my husband or get me to do something that I have no business. Never. Nobody. So, all right. So your daughters are watching you basically and your actions. They don't do what you say. They don't do what we say. They do what you do. And if it's okay for you, then it'll be okay for them. So I was talking about these points and I was talking about myself. So I want to turn this around just a little bit for you guys. Some of you guys are disrespectful towards your husband in front of your kids, in front of your daughters. Your daughters are seeing you be disrespectful to your husband. They're seeing you talking about him behind his back. They're seeing you curse him out. They're seeing you yell at him and get in his face. They're seeing all of this toxicity. They're seeing it. And this is exactly how they're going to act towards their husbands. They just are, because they don't know any better. Now, every now and again, you get a young woman who's like, you know what? They're going to learn from somebody else. There is a wife e-group that I do for my church. And we ask the question of, you know, who were your role models, or what did you learn from growing up? How was respect modeled in the home? I'll say that. And a lot of times it wasn't. And so now we have these women that are like, you know what? I don't know what it's like because I didn't see healthy marriage growing up, but I want to have a healthy marriage. So I want to get rid of all these bad things that I've learned, and I want to create good habits because I want my marriage to last. And so there's a movement that's happening now of wives that are like, you know what? I'm going to love on my husband like to death do us part. And we're going to do, that's what the Wyfe Up movement is about, right? So some of you women are being disrespectful towards your husbands. Some of you wives, should I say, some of you wives are not letting your husbands lead. You are hearing him say things and you're like, nope, we're not going to do that. Okay. You don't trust him in his leadership. You're not allowing him to lead. And so therefore he's basically almost like a kid in your home. He has to listen to you just like the kids do, because you're not allowing him to lead, and you're not showing him the kids, rather, you're not showing your daughters that, okay, he's the head of the household and we are going to listen to what he has to say because he is the head. You're not showing your daughters that. You know that. You know who you are too. Some of you wives are not showing your daughters how to keep an organized, neat, highly efficient home. Okay? I didn't, but I'm learning now, right? I'm learning now because I know my husband wants to come home to a home that is great, you know, happy home. You're not showing, some of you wives are not showing your daughters how to have a Christ-filled marriage because you don't have Jesus in the center of your marriage. You're not showing your daughters how to respect their finances or your finances in the house. And you're not showing your husband respect because you're flirting with other men in front of your daughters. So the question is, what about your daughters? And your daughter deserves to be shown how to be a wife, so that way she can walk into a marriage and have a successful marriage and know how to be a Christ-like wife. What are you showing your daughters? What about your daughters? And if you're not getting it right, you need to change it. It's time to wife up. Bye for now, guys.